I played Gran Turismo like in college. It must have been an earlier iteration, like Gran Turismo 2 or 3 or something. But it was never really my thing. Like, and even as it got more sophisticated, I got less interested because I'm not really into the simulation games. I'm more into the RPG type games. So it was never really my thing. When they told me they were going to make a movie of it, I thought this is a terrible idea because there's not even a story in this simulator. And then they sent me the script, and I read the script, and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. This is a true story, and it's very moving in the way that these sports wish fulfillment underdog stories are. And I've always loved Hoosiers since I was a kid, and I would love to make my version of that Gene Hackman Hoosiers movie that you get that feeling from, and I feel like this is it.
Because if you stay, I'm gonna push you harder than you have ever been pushed, and I'm gonna prove that you don't have what it takes. Welcome.
Well, it's funny because you hire a guy who's primarily like a sci-fi guy, and you think initially you're like, oh, it'll be, sci-fi is all green screen, but no, like his sci-fi is so grounded. And when we showed up on set, he just wanted everything to be real. He didn't want any CGI in this movie. And it was crazy. So he had, they put together an entire team of people that knew how to race these cars, pit people that knew how to, and so all the stuff you're seeing is real-time stuff. Like we actually learned how to pit change these cars. We had teams of people. The guys racing the cars, the stunt drivers racing the cars are actually going 150, 170 miles an hour. There are these FPS drones like weaving in and out of the cars. It gave it all this real visceral like violence that feels like Top Gun Maverick or something. I mean, I always, I would listen to Tom Cruise do interviews sometimes about the realism in his movies like Mission Impossible or Maverick, and I would think to myself like, oh, you can do that as CGI. What are you, what does it really add? And then being on this movie, I felt exactly the way that I'm sure he must feel as a producer, like wanting to do it real, even though it's going to take more time, more skilled labor, it's going to be more difficult. There's something that it makes a difference in the movie. So I loved it. I loved shooting that. I loved that Neil demanded that and fought those battles for us. I was concerned about Jack coming off too hard after we shot the movie, to be honest. I had a call with the producer where I was like, oh man, I might have messed this up. I might have been too. But as we were shooting it, it just made a lot of sense to me to not be condescending to these kids. I feel like nowadays, with technology, with apps, with the way that kids are treated, I feel like there's a lot of false optimism out there and a lot of people condescending to you if you're a kid, like, oh, you're gonna be great. Well, and I sort of like the opposite take, which is a real hard look at someone, but real detailed observation and allowing them to then impress you and to stick with them. I mean, there's great things about Jack where he's like, you don't have it in you, blah, blah, these kids are not worth it. And then at other times, Orlando will question him and he'll turn to Orlando's character and say, give him time, he needs to understand. So there's a method to his madness that he does believe in the kids, even though he says he doesn't. And I think there's something quite not condescending about that, something quite generous about that behavior, even though on the surface it seems mean.